Under our plan, no federal dollars will be used to fund abortions, and federal conscience laws will remain in place.
Oh, is that really the case? Like so much of what Obama says, the truth is just not there. It's not in him. In fact, the 2010 healthcare law says that insurers must cover preventative health services and cannot charge for them. Okay, so that was the broad statement in the Obamacare law. On August 1st of this year, Kathleen Sebelius issued rules that require health plans to cover contraceptive drugs and devices and sterilization procedures, among other services. Okay? That makes this a whole different deal from remember what Obama said during the debate on health care reform when religious groups were raising objections about how the money in these public, plans would be spent. Remember what he said. Let's listen.
Let's honor the conscience of those who disagree with abortion and draft a sensible conscience clause.
Here's what the sensible conscience clause supposedly did. Well, it has a very narrow exemption for certain religious employers that now more and more church organizations and faith-based organizations says it's almost meaningless. A religious employer cannot qualify for the exemption if it employs or serves large numbers of people of a different faith, as many Catholic hospitals, universities, and social services agencies do, meaning they will have to provide abortion, abortifacients, the morning after pill, sterilization procedures, so forth, against the conscience of the Catholic workers in place, and the faithful. Period. Where are we on this issue? Well, this is fascinating. I want you to listen to this comment by Bishop William Laurie, who spoke directly to this issue of what's happening to these, especially Catholic organizations that serve so many people in need. Let's listen.
Catholic hospitals, Catholic charities, our schools provide first-rate services, and I believe it's the duty of government broadly to accommodate our religious beliefs and convictions and allow us to perform those services according to our own lights, even when we are engaged in a government contract.
Planned Parenthood and other organizations, along with Democrat leaders, are saying this conscience clause must be further narrowed, which will then make this completely meaningless for people who work in these areas. Joining us now, Jon O'Brien, president of For Choice, is with us. Well, I'm doing the pause there, Jon, and I'm delighted you're on the show. You call your group Catholics for Choice. However, the United States Conference on Catholic Bishops, the Canadian Conference on Catholic Bishops, the Archdiocese of Mexico, has stated that Catholics for Choice is not a Catholic organization and that it promotes positions contrary to Catholic teaching. Isn't that the case?
It's my baptism, Laura. Good morning to you. And it's my baptism that actually makes me a Catholic, not
about you personally. This is about the name of your group.
Of Catholic bishops. I think you want to talk about the issues today, I hope.
Well, your group is, I'm just not calling your group Catholics for Choice. If you talk over me, this is going to be a very short segment. No, if you... I can't hear you. La, 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 la. Jon, if you talk over me, short segment. We invited you on because I want to try to unpack the mind of a, quote, Catholic man from a group that shouldn't be called Catholics for Choice because your church and your faith does not allow you, frankly, to call yourself Catholic.
Like
your teaching
is very, very
your teaching is not Catholic.
I think what your listeners want to talk about, though, is the fact that Americans are hurting these days. Right across the United States of America, we have a situation that, as a result of the economic downturn, people are finding it harder to make ends meet.
So contraceptives get us closer to that American dream?
The Institute of Medicine decided that contraception is preventative health care and decided that it could be covered under...
Where are you from? You're from Ireland? Where are you from?
It's very interesting that President Obama promised the American people that under his administration, people wouldn't lose health care coverage they need. He promised he'd make decisions based on science and medically accurate information. Now the president is considering siding with the Catholic bishops to make it harder and more expensive for millions of American women to get the family planning they need, rejecting the medical experts that recommended its inclusion in the list of preventative health care services. So it really is about promises. I think it's interesting that President Obama, the White House, and the administration workers would all have access to contraception as part of health insurance. And this is not a partisan issue. There's many Republicans, just as there are Democrats, who know that giving people access to family planning helps their lives, helps the economy. So the idea that you would discriminate against workers who are Catholic and non-Catholic at the many Catholic institutions that, by the way, are funded by taxpayer dollars.
So you're basically, take a breath, Jon O'Brien. Take a breath. First of all, so you're saying the Archbishop of New York, Tim Dolan, and the Archbishop of Washington know less, Donald Wuerl, know less about their faith than you do.
I think the bishops are perfectly entitled to have their opinion.
Oh, entitled? Is that how it works in the church?
I really do support
They're
their
entitled
right
to know their opinion.
That.
Thanks.
But I also think that the 68 million Catholics in the United States of America, 98% of Catholic women use a method of family planning. So Catholics do disagree with the hierarchy, and we are entitled to disagree as Catholics, Laura. We are entitled to have a different opinion on these things, and many Catholics
Well, you're actually not.
And I think
actually take a breath, John. I'm going to take a breath, let it out. Take a breath. Okay, first of all, as a Catholic, you might be entitled, of course, to your First Amendment rights. No doubt about it. You're right about that. But as a Catholic, you are not entitled to believe that is actually
Laura, because
well, yeah, I'm
afraid that
okay,
you're wrong
John.
Issues like contraception, you're entitled to dissent from those issues, and many.
No, you are not.
Me that 98% of Catholic women in the United States are wrong. Are you?
No, I'm not saying. I think you're right. People do all sorts of things.
I really think that's outrageous. You're being incredibly patronizing to American Catholics.
First of all, what do you know about American Catholics?
Use birth control.
What do you know about American Catholics?
Laura, what you've decided to do is
you know the faith better than Pope Benedict. Okay, here's what the nurses say. New Jersey nurses charging religious discrimination over hospital abortion policy. A dozen nurses in New Jersey have rekindled the contentious debate over when healthcare workers can refuse to play a role in caring for women getting abortions. They filed a lawsuit end of October. 12 nurses charged the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey violated state and federal laws by abruptly announcing in September that nurses would have to help with abortion patients before and after the procedure, reversing a long-standing policy exempting employees who refuse based on religious and moral objections. I'm a nurse so I can help people, not help kill. It just doesn't seem right to me, said Beryl Otieno Negoye, one of the nurses. No health professional should be forced to choose between assisting abortion or being penalized at work. And, John, what would you say to those nurses? Tough luck?
I think, first of all, it's interesting that now you don't want to talk about contraceptive insurance coverage. You want to change the subject. But I'm very happy, Laura, to first of all, underscore the fact that Catholic workers and workers at Catholic institutions shouldn't be discriminated against. Conscience is very, very important within Catholicism and also, I think, within a functioning society. No worker should be forced to perform any procedure that they don't want to, and I believe that the institution in question said that, in response to this particular allegation, said that people's consciences would not be violated. Of course.
Well, they already have been, according to these nurses. The nurses are lying?
Laura, what about the consciences of workers, Catholic and non-Catholic, at Catholic institutions across the United States who want to use birth control?
They should become something else. Become Episcopal. No one says you have to become Catholic. You don't have to be Catholic. It's a free country.
Should be used.
Be an Episcopal. Be Methodist. Be Presbyterian or whatever.
What you're doing is you're back.
That's not how it works. I mean, John, calm down. Okay, turn his mic down. I can't do this interview if he's going to just blab on over everything I say. It doesn't work. Boston, please do that. Because John apparently doesn't know the rules of the road here. Doesn't know the rules of his own faith, and he doesn't know the rules of the show. Okay? Here's the number one thing. No one is requiring you to be a Catholic. No one's making you be Catholic. No one's saying you have to be Catholic. No, it's just not. That's not how it works. But if you say you are a Catholic, that along with that comes certain things, certain issues, and certain things that you must hold dear. Now, we all fall down. I always say I'm the most flawed person out. You all fall down. But that ideal must exist, be respected, and protected. We have a dozen nurses in New Jersey who are saying that their consciences are being violated in this hospital by the fact that they must care for and administer to women who are getting abortions against their own religious conscience. And now people in Catholic hospitals are saying the same things.
And what you're
now there is no conscience. I am not finished. Boston, my gosh. In the United States of America, we have, you're right, the right to disagree. When the President of the United States goes on television and says that the conscience of religious workers will be protected, that has to mean something. And in effect, and in fact, Archbishop of Washington, New York, and the United States Catholic Bishop Conference is very clear that the conscience clause as it exists and as it is being administered is essentially so narrow that it is meaningless. Now, we have a man from an organization that is not recognized as a Catholic organization coming on this show trying to grandstand and huff and puff at me that somehow he knows more about religious discrimination than the actual people who are charged by the Pope to actually safeguard it in our country. Okay, that's fine. That exists. But, John, go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
I really think that, it's a shame that Republicans who are listening to this program, Democrats, support family planning. They understand that in tough economic times, people need access to that. Our president has the opportunity to either discriminate in favor of the bishops who fail to convince Catholics not to use family planning, or give the same treatment to Catholic workers at Catholic institutions as everybody else. That seems to be the American thing to do. It seems to be the right thing to do. Catholics use family planning. Catholics can use family planning in good conscience. That's our religion, Laura, and that's the truth.
So you will be okay with the fact that about a third of these Catholic hospitals and other institutions will close? You're okay with that? That's serving the people well?
In California, Laura, they instituted coverage for contraception, and no Catholic institutions have closed. I noticed that emergency contraception is made available in Catholic hospitals, or they refer on to places where it can be made available to people.
Well, the bishops have already closed orphanages, and Catholic hospitals are next, they say.
Discriminating against workers is a bad thing, and this president doing it is even worse.
Do you feel like you ever discriminate against the unborn?
I don't think that's what we're talking about at the moment, Laura. Again,
when do you think children get human rights?
Failing, by the way, Laura, failing to address contraceptive coverage.
Is it a baby?
As you said you wanted to do in this program. Every time that you reach...
John, is it a baby or not? I mean, no talk turkey here.
You want the president to discriminate against workers. So, in other words,
you don't even make sense, John.
Receives one
John,
thing,
I don't. You know something? After this interview,
that's very wrong.
I don't even think you believe what you're saying. I'm at the point where I think you know it's a baby.
I know what you're saying. I think that's part
okay, yeah, John. You know more about what Archbishop Dolan says than I do.
Read up on Catholicism, because before you do an interview again with a Catholic, because otherwise, I think you're letting down your listeners.
Yeah. So again, you will not say when this is a baby. You will not say when the child in the womb accrues human rights. You will only say that the right to, quote, family plan, which means to terminate or avoid life, is sacrosanct above all other rights. That's what Jon O'Brien, the president of For Choice, is saying on the Laura Ingraham Show. Okay, we've established it. The only discrimination works one way, against those who wish to abort above all other instances of freedom and liberty. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 800-876-4123. I will not say thank you for that guest, because I don't think he behaved very well in this segment. Stay with us.